I Redditor.
What can't you believe still exist in 2024?
Companies that allow you to subscribe to a service online, but make you call them if you want to cancel. In California, if you created the auto-renewing subscription online, companies must allow you to cancel it exclusively online. No phone calls, mailing forms, etc.
Someone needs to tell Planet Fitness.
I literally canceled my credit card because it was easier than canceling my Planet Fitness subscription.
You would like privacy.com. I read about it here on Reddit a couple years ago, and I have been using it ever since. It allows you to create individual credit cards for your various accounts or purchases. For instance, my Netflix account got hacked, and the miscreant changed it from 1 user to 4. When I realized it about a month later, I called Netflix and had my account restored, and switched out my payment to a privacy credit card number that can only be charged $12.99 one time a month. I set up a card for Amazon, and the most that can be charged on it is $100 per month, and I can change the dollar amount or frequency at any time. No one would be able to charge, say, an iPad or laptop to it. The spending limit on my payment card for Amazon is $100, and their purchase would be declined. I saw an offer last year of 6 months of Vanity Fair Digital for $1 a month. Then thereafter it would be $29 a year if you don't cancel, and they count on you not canceling. I set up a card that was good for $6. They billed me $6. And then later, when they tried to bill me $29, the card was declined. I have different cards set up for all my streaming services. Another thing that's cool is that you can set up a card that's good for just one purchase, and then it's automatically canceled once the charge goes through. I hope that all made sense. No, I am not a shill, paid or otherwise.
Supermarket tabloids. Does anyone still actually purchase these things? You mean the best investigative reporting on the planet, according to Agent K from unnamed government organization?
Elvis is not dead, he just went home.
I worked at an industrial facility, and someone used to bring in the weekly world news, the one with the Bat Boy and the alien that endorsed Ross Perot. One morning in the nearby residential area, a woman was jogging and a tree fell on. No one knew she was under there until the city came to remove the tree later that day. As the city workers were removing limbs, they found the woman's body. Apparently, the trunk of the tree was rotten, and the woman was wearing earphones and did not hear anything. The small community was rocked by the news, and it was covered by the local newspaper. A few weeks later, Weekly World News had an article on this story and had all the correct details. We spent the next several years debating if every story in there was true. Did you see the alien met with the Pope? Someone would ask. Bah, that is another made-up story, someone else would scoff. I don't know. Remember, they got the tree falling on the jogger story correct. The logical part of me knows all the stories are made up, but there is also a part of me that wonders if the Pope has the telephone number to Batboy and the alien. My guess would be that sometimes they have to pad out the paper with stories that either they buy from local newspapers or just steal, assuming that the local paper can't or won't sue. It certainly raises some interesting questions, though. Online forums that don't like apostrophes in names. As someone who has an Irish last name, it's super frustrating. Murphy.
There's an episode of, was it Radiolab or This American Life, where they talked about the IT side of making online forms. There are people with the last name Null, which makes things super hard. Also, some guy thought it would be funny to get Null as a custom license plate. He ended up getting hundreds of other people's tickets because the license plate number just wasn't entered.
In Ireland, the police were looking for a repeat offender driver called Prawo Jazdy. What they did not know was that Prawo Jazdy is Polish for driver's license. They wrote down the wrong part of the license. MLM companies. I don't know how they still get people to join them, since a 10-second Google search will show you that they are all a scam.
MLMs typically prey on either the poor and desperate or the ignorant. There are so many people who won't look into something and just believe it outright. Also, they usually get roped in by friends and family, who likely also got roped in by people they trusted, who got roped in by the 1% of people who actually make a living. MLM boss babes are excellent marketers. I'm Instagram friends with former high school acquaintances who've joined MLMs, and their pages are filled with trips to exotic locations where they sit on a beach, eyes closed and seemingly at peace with some inspirational quotation in the description, followed by how it was all possible because of the MLM they work for. It's very convincing to someone who's desperate, and there's a lot of desperate people these days. It's so predatory.
Flat Earthers. If anything, there's been a weird resurgence in flat earthers, probably largely because the internet allows them to connect worldwide and get others in on their weird conspiracy theories. Apparently, some straight up don't believe in space, which is even more mind-boggling to me than the notion that Earth is flat.
I actually think it's an increasingly tempting belief for people from an emotional angle, because it matches emotionally with what they're actually experiencing. They're furious about being lied to. It's true that they are being lied to. They've just got it wrong who is lying to them about what and why. Probably in many cases because they can't grapple with the fact that the people they trust and rely on are actually lying to and using them. That's a pretty tough pill to swallow. So they project those motives and emotions onto a target they're more emotionally comfortable with. The they who are lying gets projected onto those who are safer to vilify. And then you get this great community who congratulates you on knowing the truth, and you don't have to face the awful reality of the situation.
I think there is also a tremendous arrogance and inflated sense of self-importance with these people. I'm one of the few that actually knows the truth. All the rest of you are just sheep, and of course amongst the dumb sheep are all of the most educated, successful, and accomplished people in the world.
Flat earthers are literally just idiots dying to feel smart about something once in their sad lives.
Phone books.
Only just. I received a new phone book a few weeks ago, the first one in 2 years, with a note saying that this will be the last ever phone book published by the phone company.
Keep it safe, can be valuable in future.
Scam emails and spam risk calls.
Fun fact about the scam mails, they are deliberately written with many typos to weed out the smart people who they can't get any money from in the first place.
Ticketmaster. Seriously, there is an easier company to disintermediate? Here's a map of some seats. Here are the prices. The date and time are set. Want to buy one of these seats? Click here.
Rent-A-Center.
I had a roommate in college who got a TV from Rent-A-Center. He ended up leaving school and moved out, but he left the TV. After about 2 months, some dude came up and asked if he was there, and I told him he moved back to Tulsa and took all his stuff with him. The guy said, "Damn, okay, thanks," and left, and I kept that TV for about 4 more years.
One of my squad mates in the Army back in 2009 used a fake driver's license and a burner phone to rent $20,000 in 2009 dollars of furniture and electronics 2 weeks before he PCS'd overseas with all of it and never paid for it.
Homeless elderly people. No one at all should be homeless, but it must be especially rough when you're older.
I know somebody who ended up homeless at 97. He actually got lucky. Some people in the system managed to keep him safe until they could find him a spot in a nursing home. It's actually one of the nicest in the city. He gets a reduced rate his pension covers. Regular cost is about 3x his pension. They kept him safe by putting him in the psych ward for 3 months, but way better than a shelter.
Infectious diseases for which we have highly effective vaccines.
I heard 2 or 3 years ago about an American family whose kids got measles in 2020s, while every kid is supposed to be vaccinated before 3 years old. Measles should be ancient history in rich countries.
See the current outbreak of 10 children in Florida. People who don't wear their seatbelts.
As a former farmhand, it was really easy to get into the habit of not buckling up. I was in and out of trucks, tractors, big trucks, harvesters, loaders, etc. so frequently that it was hardly worth buckling up because you weren't going very far or very fast. When I would go home for the day, it was very easy to forget to buckle up. I still have to remind myself sometimes because old habits die hard.
Caste System.
I made an offhand comment about that to an Indian coworker who I've discussed political topics with before, and he snapped back that it doesn't exist and vaguely implied it was racist to think it did. This not being the only Indian I've spoken to about it, I just said, I'd imagine it's a controversial topic.
Legally speaking, it doesn't exist and is against the law. In practice, it is there.